Thursday, May 21st, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show. The highly anticipated contact tracing API from Google and Apple. Their collaboration has officially rolled out to governmental organizations to allow for app development. We'll tell you what all that means. Plus, it's Thursday, which means we'll be joined by our gaming editor, Lisa Marie Segarra, to talk about the latest news, including the Minecraft anniversary numbers and a Stadia exclusive game. And we have the debut of a brand new Digital Trends show later today called Open for Good. And we'll be interviewing the star of the very first episode, the incredible chef Daniela Abraham. And we're all looking out for more things to watch, and Erin Keeney will join the show for another edition of Real News, where she'll let us know what's on the way, including a new cut of the Justice League. All of that and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Yes, hello everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're watching on, and we are on a lot of them. And so thanks for being a part of this. We broadcast live here, like I said, every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. But let's get it started off with some trending news now. There's a lot to cover, but let's go with the Google and Apple collaboration to start off with. So this is something we've been hearing about for about a month, which seems like years in pandemic time, but nonetheless, it was about a month ago that they unveiled that they were going to be working on this. And here is what we know so far. So the way this works is Apple and Google collaborating for an API. Now, this is the underlying technology behind iPhones and Android phones. And essentially what this all boils down to is contact tracing. So the idea is that now Android phones and iPhones can communicate with one another via Bluetooth and ping each other as someone's within proximity. Now, this rolling out to all of these different organizations, what that means is that we can, with that, also then have a bunch of these different phone services be able to contact each other. And that's a really important thing when you're trying to do some contact tracing. So they're changing the name of it to exposure notification. Now, we've got Alabama, North Dakota, and South Carolina are 3 states that said they're going to be rolling this out right away. And right away is meaning they're working on an app right now. So when they roll out their apps, they will then be able to communicate back and forth with each other. So as that works, when you're out in the world, say you're walking around, your phone would ping somebody else's phone, and then if you were to be notified that you were COVID-19 positive, you could then send that back out through it, and it would ping other phones to let them know. And they said that there's some strict regulations as far as location data, a lot of specifications with this, and we've got all the details at digitaltrends.com on how this all works. It is complicated, but it is something that I think we could see more states adopt it and adapt to it. It does require a lot of people for it to really work. You need about a 60% adoption rate, and this is voluntary as far as when these apps roll out. People would volunteer to be part of it, but that's something that we're seeing right now. So again, it's kind of breaking news. We're going to see how this all rolls out, but that is something that's happening with Google and Apple with their collaboration. Continuing on, we've also got some news about Instagram Live. So as we see different companies adopt different standards and regulations as we go through what's happening right now, certainly Instagram Live has had a lot of use over the last couple of months, and they realize that. And one of the things that's happened is there's problems that maybe existed before they didn't know about. And one of those is copyright issues. So when you're broadcasting live on Instagram, if you're broadcasting other people's music, there are copyright issues with that. And sometimes what would happen is they would either mute a video in the middle of it or block it, take it down. But now you'll get a warning that just says, hey, your live video will be removed soon if you continue to broadcast music you don't have permission to use. So that is something that we're going to be able to see here with this. You'll see this popping up on your app if you are broadcasting music. So at least it'll give you a warning that you can try to fix the situation before they just take you off the airwaves. So Instagram Live, again, rolling out their updates for that. So just to be careful if you're broadcasting on there. Copyrighted music is a real concern, especially for people who are new to this. That's something that you got to watch out for. All right, continuing on here as we broadcast live, bringing you live commentary and news. Let's talk about Airbnb. Certainly, they have taken a pretty big hit as people have not been traveling, obviously, and there's a lot that goes into that, but something that they're trying to do is launch some more digital experiences. They have some that they already did before. Now they've launched some new ones, and this is because today is Global Accessibility Awareness Day, which aims to promote digital accessibility and inclusion. So important to make sure that everybody's included. And so some of these experiences that they're launching actually cater to that. So they've got ones that include a wheelchair workout. They've got a cooking class with a deaf teacher, so somebody who can communicate in sign language. And that's actually a really cool thing to see these different kinds of experiences that are all curated by them. So this is Airbnb with their specific line of experiences that they're putting out. They also have one, and this one, I just want to see what this is. It's called Mindful Meditation with Horses. I don't know what that involves, but I already want to have that experience. So that's something else that you can take a look at right there. This is a part of a suite of experiences that they are putting out. So again, this is part of the Airbnb with 20 new online experiences designed with accessibility needs in mind. It's just a horse glaring at you. I don't really know how this, well, I mean, sure, I'm sure she knows what she's doing. All right, so you can read more about all of that at digitaltrends.com. Continue on here with some trending news to keep you up to date with what is happening in the world. Let's talk about Twitter. There's an update that they are going to be rolling out that a lot of people have wanted for a long time, but there are concerns by other organizations. So here's what it is. When you are posting a tweet, you can now control, or at least in theory, this is going to roll out to everybody. Right now, it's only a selected number of people that have this ability, but this is what they're talking about, where you can select who can reply. So I see right there, you can select everybody, people you follow, or only people you mention. And this is all as part of this goal for pretty much every social media organization to control trolls. I mean, trolls are a problem, especially if you've ever been on Twitter. You know what I'm talking about. And that would be a way that you could at least prevent people on your timeline. Now, it doesn't mean they can't take a screen cap and still post about anything like that, but that's what Twitter is looking at to at least control it along your own timeline. There has been a response from the ACLU, actually, of all people, of all organizations, who are talking about this, saying that this could actually violate the First Amendment. So they said, there's a big statement that they came out, but just to paraphrase, they said public officials would be violating the First Amendment if they were to use this tool to block speakers on any accounts they've opened up for public conversation. So this is kind of aimed at political, let's say political figures who post a lot on Twitter. And if they were, say these political figures were to not allow people to reply to it, and this was an official public statement, then that could be a very big issue, especially since a lot of things are considered a public statement if it's posted on Twitter. So there are a lot of regulatory hurdles that we're going to have to see how they're going to handle that, but that's something that Twitter is rolling out. And again, a select few people that will be trying this out right now, but they've been posting about it. So let us know what you think about that in the comments on whatever platform you are watching on, especially if it's Twitter. All right, continuing on here with our trending news. This is a story that's been trending all day, and it has to do with the potential of a bionic eye. Yes, that is what we're talking about. This is coming from a report out of Hong Kong, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and it's called the electrochemical eye. And this is not something they've developed. It's an idea. It's a prototype that they're working on, but it could potentially help out not only humanoid robots, but also visually impaired people in the future. So there's a lot, of course, science behind this, but essentially what it could do is really create an artificial light-sensing eye. And so as you see right there, this eye was able to, through the sensors, through all of the electronics that it has on there, detect what it was seeing. It could determine that that was an E, that was an I, that was a Y. And it was able to do that all through the computing power. Right now, in theory, you could also hook that up to the retina of an actual human and then be able to bring sight back. They said that this thing could hold 460 million nano-sized sensors. The normal human eye has 10 million cells, so this could be up to 40 times more powerful than the human eye. And again, this has not been done for a human yet, but if this were to happen, the person who had these bionic eyes would be able to see a far wider gamut of light. You would be able to see infrared, they said. You'd have the potential, so you'd have night vision, you'd have higher resolution, you would have bionic eyes. I mean, for real, that's what this could work out to be. Or also with humanoid robots, allowing them to be able to better interpret their environment. So pretty cool what they're working on. This is based on a research study that was published in Nature on Wednesday, so we'll see where it all goes, but definitely pretty interesting stuff. Continuing on here with one more trending topic that I have for you. We do know that SpaceX is going to be sending humans back up to the International Space Station from American soil next week. But before that, we've got Virgin Orbit, who's working on something. Now, there's Virgin Galactic, which is going to send people up to low orbit. This is a different way Virgin Orbit is to get satellites into orbit. And that's what we're looking at right here. So the way that this works is they've been trying this out for a while. It's a Boeing 747 that goes up to a very high altitude, maybe 35,000 feet, and then launches a rocket off of the plane that then sends the payload up into orbit, and then the satellite releases from there. So it's a different way to do it. They said there would be a more efficient, cheaper way that would be able to do this. And the way that we're seeing this, what they're going to be doing over this weekend is they're going to be testing this out. So it's going to be a pretty big test. It's called Launcher 1. They're going to get up there. They're going to send a dummy payload into space for the first time, meaning it'll come back down. But that is what they're going to try to do. And if they're able to do this efficiently, they could be some real competition for a lot of those other companies that are looking to put satellites into orbit for less money. Again, kind of democratizing space, but a different way that they're doing it. So we'll have to see how that all works out. That will be live streamed. It is over the weekend. They have a window of a couple of days, so we don't know exactly when it's going to happen yet, but they'll narrow that down as we go through. But that is something you could read about at digitaltrends.com.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
All right, it is the product of the day. So hello, everyone. Yes, we're broadcasting live, and we are here for everybody. And let's talk about this. What we're all doing here at home is watching more television, right? Well, how about watching it with a really good one? And this is what our product is. The Sony 65-inch class 4K UHD OLED Android Smart TV. This is the Bravia A8G series. This is a top-of-the-line television. So this it's got it all. 4K, HDR, IMAX enhanced, and Dolby Vision. It's got all kinds of different ways that it can actually crisp up your screen. It's got OLED, so if you've never seen something on OLED, it's really amazing. It is game-changing. I would highly recommend somebody to go take a look at it, at what it looks like on OLED. It's also got 8 million individual pixels. We talked about another story there earlier. This has 8 million individual illuminated pixels. So as you can see, it's got all kinds of different things. And I would recommend going to digitaltrends.com too and taking a look at some of our reviews of this line of televisions because it's pretty amazing. And that is what our deal is today. So the deal is you click that link that's right below there. Now, normally this television is $2,800, but it is on sale right now for $1,998. So it is $800 off. But at $19.98, that is what the deal is. So you can take a look right there and click that link that's right below me. And that's a product of the day. I do have this. There's some more breaking news that just came through, and I know that I need to get to a break, but this is actually coming from Amazon. As this news happens, we want to make sure that we get it to you. Amazon saying that they are moving Prime Day. Now, that was originally scheduled for July. That's usually when it happens, sometime in July. And they said that they are now moving it to September. So it is going to be taking place in September, according to Amazon. They're also looking to ramp up non-essential shipments. So non-essential shipments can now be stocked up at the warehouses. They had some issues with that because they want to make sure that essential products got out quicker. But that's what's going on there. So some news on that. We'll have all the details about that at digitaltrends.com, so you can go there and take a look. Continuing on here, let's do this. We are going to be taking a break and coming back with Lisa Marie Segarra. So that is what we're going to be talking about with some gaming news. So stick around. We'll be right back after this with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, thank you for joining us. We like to keep you up to date on what is going on in the world of technology, and that includes gaming. And to do so, we have our own Lisa Marie Segarra, who is joining the show to talk about what is happening with that. There's so many things that have been, it's always constantly changing, and that's why it's so hard to keep up with it. But that's why we have Lisa Marie here to talk about. And I know there's been some big Minecraft news this week. What is going on there?
Yeah, Minecraft is one of those games that, even though it's certainly not new, it definitely just keeps going. And especially when people are home, it just keeps going even more. So sales just hit 200 million. So it quietly just became the highest selling game of all time, which is pretty crazy. It's actually the only game past the 200 million mark. And you have another longtime favorite, GTA 5, in second place with 130 million. That also just went free on the Epic Store. It's another one that, even though it's not new by any means, just keeps having fans coming back. I mean, I was talking about how it actually came out on the PS3 and Xbox 360, which is crazy to think about now. And then to round up the top five, you've got Tetris Mobile, Wii Sports, and PUBG.
And yeah, taking a look there, past 200 million. It's pretty amazing that just over this amount of time that a game like that is still growing and that people are still wanting to get into it and play it. That's pretty amazing. So that's Minecraft, yeah, with all of those pretty cool things that are going on with it. And I know there's some other stuff that we want to talk about too. Some other big news when it comes to gaming, and maybe a third game in this line that we've been anticipating for a while.
Yeah, so there might be a System Shock 3, but it could be with Tencent. So basically, the rights to this very long awaited third entry, it's this historic horror cyberpunk type game. And it was owned by uh, some different ones. So now it's owned by Tencent. And it's kind of like the spiritual predecessor to Bioshock and Dead Space. And it's kind of like this very futuristic but horror type game, which is very fun and also very unique. You know, there are some other games like the ones I mentioned, but it's not really a dead horse that's been beaten over and over again, which is very fun. But the idea here is that Tencent has been also quietly growing, kind of like Minecraft, and it is now taking over so much of the gaming industry. It's been massive in China, but it is going further and further into the European and North American markets as well. They fully own Riot Games. They have a 40% stake in Epic Games, uh, different stakes like around 5% in Ubisoft and Activision Blizzard from a long running investment on the latter. And also on this side, we also have Hideo Kojima's longtime producer recently went to Tencent. So they're definitely making some moves right now to further move along in this gaming space.
And so, let me ask you: have you played some of these other ones, the predecessors? I mean, Bioshock's clearly a lot of people have played it, and Dead Space. I mean, are a lot of people really anticipating and wanting this to happen?
Yeah, I definitely feel like BioShock especially has such a long time fan service. Like people still love it. And Dead Space 2 is just so fun for that kind of thrilling game. I remember playing it for the first time, and it's one of those games where you're like, I don't know why I'm playing this because I'm scared, but it's also so thrilling. It's amazing. And I feel like Dead Space 2, I've seen fans want another iteration of that, but they want it done well. So hopefully this could be that.
Nice. Well, that's definitely cool for a lot of people with that. And then going on to something else, with the gaming wars, I feel like took kind of a backstage to the streaming wars for a little while. But I mean, Google Stadia is still there, even though not a lot of people necessarily playing it. But there are some more things that are rolling out for it now too, from what I understand.
Yeah, so we just found out that Serious Sam 4 will be a Stadia exclusive. So it's coming out in August and it's going to be exclusive to PC and Stadia. And it will go to consoles, but not until 2021. So they've definitely got a good lead on that. So for some background, the Serious Sam franchise started back in 2001. So this is the first release since 2011. We have a lot of older franchises being revived or still going. in the news right now. So they're clearly still trying. I don't know if this is the killer app that they need, but I mean, at least they're doing something.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I feel like is the thing with this. There's just, I guess exclusives or something like that would be a good way for them to maybe, beef this up. Do you think it's going to make a difference?
Probably not, just because it is an older franchise and it doesn't have the same draw that the others do. Like we talked about, Bioshock and Dead Space and even System Shock, which is a smaller one too. But I think that there's more intrigue there than for Serious Sam. I mean, if you think about the younger audience right now who's doing a lot of streaming on mobile, some of them weren't even playing games or alive in 2001, which makes me feel old, but you
Yeah.
have to really consider that when thinking about, is this going to be the game for this platform that's going to draw a lot of fans?
Well, at least they're, like you said, I think the bottom line is at least they're trying something. So that is
Yeah.
Google Stadia News right there. We've got that also at digitaltrends.com. Lisa Marie, as always, thank you very much for keeping us up to date with everything that's going on. Appreciate it. And I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me as always.
All right. And again, we've got all the news on gaming right there at digitaltrends.com. Okay, coming up, we have a great guest joining us, and we have our new series here from Digital Trends, which is launching later on today. We've got the star of the first episode of Open for Good, Chef Danny. She's going to be on right after this, so stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Meet the Ninja Foodie Pressure Cooker. The best of pressure cooking and air frying, now in one pod. And with Tender Crisp technology, you can cook foods that are crispy on the outside and juicy on the inside. The Ninja Foodie Pressure Cooker. The pressure cooker that crisps.
Yes, I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Digital Trends Live, and this segment is presented by the Ninja Foodie Pressure Cooker, the pressure cooker that crisps. And later on today, we're going to be launching a brand new series here at Digital Trends called Open for Good. We're going to be joined by incredible chefs in their own kitchens. And right now, we're going to talk to the star of the first episode of that series. She's an internationally known celebrity chef and culinary architect. It is Daniela Abraham, aka Chef Danny. Thank you so much for being here. Something we're kind of asking everybody is, how are you holding up during all of this?
Oh my gosh, it's been such a challenge. But just trying to stay super positive, encouraging others, of course, and being supportive with the whole entire chef and restaurant community because we only have each other right now, truthfully.
Right? I mean, and that's so great. And I got to say, following along with your Instagram, which is fantastic, just everything that you post on there, I wanted to ask for you, for being an amazing chef like yourself, being at home, what are some of the things that you've been cooking?
I've been a lot healthier, actually, especially because of what's going on with COVID. So I've been cooking things that are like helping with reducing inflammatory foods and stuff like that, things that are good with your immune system, things that are high in antioxidants and also vitamin C. So I've been juicing a lot of smoothies, pre-prepping a lot of things, a lot of soups. That's pretty much been my diet so far. And having something like the Ninja Foodie is just super amazing because boy, does it cuts down so much cooking time. So I'm just happy to even be a part of this.
Right? I mean, that's something that I need. I am not a world-renowned chef, so it helps me out tremendously on my end. So it's nice to hear for you that it helps you out too. Something else that I always want to ask too, for you, and just where you're at right now, I always like to know how people got their interest in cooking. So like for you, what was it originally that made you so interested in doing this as a career?
Well, okay, I know this is going to sound funny because a lot of people, they have the traditional story of saying, grandma introduced them into cooking or their mother, but mine was actually Little Bear. So Little Bear was making birthday soup. I was about 4 years old and I actually wanted to emulate that. So I got on the stove and I started tossing all of these vegetables in the pot just as Little Bear did. My mom is a nurse and she just came home from working her 12-hour shift and she went in the room. So she didn't know anything that I was doing. I just went on the stove and did my thing. And her mom radar went off and she ran into the kitchen and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm making birthday soup." And that was the crossroad in my life where if she would have disciplined me in a way where it would have made it feel like I was doing something bad, I would have hated food. But what she did was take the time and make soup with me properly. And she said, "Baby, I'll show you how to make some soup." So we made soup and she actually tapped into my love language. And that's how I fell in love with cooking that moment.
That's an incredible story for getting into it. That's way better than any of the other ones. I mean, that's so great. So thanks to your mom and also you just at 4 years old throwing stuff into a pot. This is how we end up where we are right now. Well, talking about that and putting things into pots, in a way, we have Open for Good, which is launching later on today, and we're going to be following along with you with some different things. And I got to ask, what can we look forward to with this? What are you going to be preparing for us, or can you tell us?
Well, I do want to have a little surprise element to it, but I will tell you that it's something that everyone can do at home and it will have a restaurant flair to it. So it's not going to be anything that's too difficult, but since we're all missing out on restaurant eats, you will be able to introduce something that's super glam to your family that will be able to wow them and, they won't miss out on that restaurant touch that we all have been missing.
That's good. That's enough of a tease without giving away whatever it is that you're going to be doing.
Exactly what it is.
That works for me.
Okay.
Well, you mentioned, that you're cooking with the Ninja Foodie pressure cooker and the air fryer, and that's what I wanted to talk about too. So with this, with this kind of tool at your disposal, like what is it like cooking with it for you, and what does it allow you to do?
With something like this, it's time. For us, time is really, really, really important. So for you to be able to use the pressure cooker and for me to make collard greens super quick or to make oxtail super quick, I'm Caribbean. Um, Super quick. That's super amazing. Being a personal chef, and when you have clients that want something at a whim, the Ninja Foodie is the perfect tool just for that. And to use the crisper, that's something that I actually was really, really, I would say, skeptical about when I first heard about the Foodie. But for the fact that it does work exactly the way that it's supposed to work, it just wows me. And it's all in one product. And you don't have to go ahead and swap out another piece of equipment or anything. You're basically just switching a lid, and you could get the same Christmas without frying things, adding extra oil or anything. So you still have some crispy wings, crispy potatoes, without you having to go ahead and deep fry anything, and you're still using the same thing that you would have pressure cooked with. So that's pretty cool.
That's easy, and it is making me very hungry just talking about this. So I want to remind everybody, too, the Open for Good series launches at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern today. So whatever platform you're watching on right now, if you're watching us live, just hit subscribe, and then you'll get the notification to make sure to join in. But something else that's special about this series, too, is that I know it's also benefiting, I want to make sure I get the name right, the World Central Kitchen. Can you tell us what that's about and what that means?
Well, World Central Food Kitchen, they've been around for years. Chef Jose Andres, he started it, and I found out about him like back in 2008, I believe. And it was just basically me just wanting to go out and help other countries in need, because that's what he was doing, helping to feed other countries. But he actually helps a lot of people here in the States as well. And during this time with COVID, while restaurants have been closed, what he did was purchase tons of food throughout these restaurants and donated to families in need, just to make sure that not only the restaurants were benefiting, but families were benefiting as well. So World Central Food Kitchen has been helping out the community the best way that they can. And I just thought that, with this charity, it's just so well rounded, and everyone will be benefited by it.
That's a wonderful charity, and so many people need help, and that's amazing that this is what we're going to be helping out with this too. And you are also wonderful, and everybody can watch you later on today as part of Open for Good, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. I want to remind everybody, and you're going to be cooking something. We got a little bit of a tease, not everything. No. There's going to be some surprises that are coming along with it. And Chef Danny, I want to say thank you so much. You're great. I can't wait to watch this, and thanks for being a part of it.
No, thanks for having me. I am so happy. My heart is so full and warm just to be a part of this. Like, I'm very passionate about what I do and my career and my love for the industry itself. So just for me to be able to give back, be a part of, this with you guys, and to work with a company such as Ninja and their product, I'm just overwhelmed with happiness right now, especially during this time.
That is so great. Open for Good, premiering this afternoon right here on whatever platform you're watching on. Hit subscribe. You'll get it. digitaltrends.com/openforgood. Chef Danny, thank you so much. Can't wait to see you later today.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. She's great. So that's going to be on later today. Again, Open for Good, premiering here, our brand new show. So it's going to be every Thursday is when we're going to be airing these. The first one is today, though, so you don't want to miss that. Be sure to tune in 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, and join her as she cooks. All right, we've got more coming up. We need to get to a break. We've got Erin Keeney coming up with some more real news. So what should we be watching this weekend? Well, she's going to help us out with that. So that's coming up next. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and we are broadcasting live on a number of different platforms. So hit that subscribe button, and whatever one you are on, then you get notifications. And we like to keep you up to date on everything, and that includes entertainment. What is there to be watching? Well, we have somebody who's going to tell us all that right now. It's another edition of Real News with our own Aaron Keeney. Hello, Aaron. Thanks so much for being here. As always, what do we have to look forward to today?
Hello, Greg. Great to be here as well. Well, it's Memorial Day weekend, so this is really kind of the unofficial kickoff to summer. And for all of you out there who might be worried that you don't have much more to stream in the months ahead because you've been binging so much recently, have no fear. I'm here to tell you that HBO Max, the newest streaming service on the scene, will launch next Wednesday, May 27th, and it's bringing us 10,000 hours of premium content. So HBO Max falls under the Warner Media banner. So that means a huge roster of Warner Brothers content, original titles, classic films, TV shows, and Japanese animated works, even from Studio Ghibli, which is cool. And just announced, I'm sure that you have all heard, HBO Max will be the service that will include the unreleased version of director Zack Snyder's 2017 superhero film, Justice League, which will premiere on the service in 2021. So if you remember, the director had to exit that project a few years ago. And it wasn't long after that a growing movement of fans started to campaign for Snyder's version to be released. It was under the hashtag release the Snyder cut, if you remember this. That version of course brings together, it's Superman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash all together on the same screen. And everybody was getting in on this. Even some of the movie's stars like Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck chimed in on Twitter, release this cut. We want to see his version. Well, fans will have to wait until next year for this, but at least now their requests have been answered. So that's definitely something to look forward to. And I think this is an example of, hey, it never hurts to ask.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when it comes out if some of the same people that were complaining about it the first time, also complain about this one. But either way, I want to see it. I mean, why not? I love all these superhero movies, so that's great. Coming up for this weekend, what do we have?
Well, some other great stuff as well. So if you're in the mood for something a little bit wacky, something fun, Netflix this weekend, Paramount Pictures is releasing their new film, Lovebirds. If you remember, this was slated to be released in early April, and now the studio just decided to skip, kind of the reshuffling altogether. So they're going to skip the big screen, and they made a deal exclusively with Netflix to stream this. And like I said, this is kind of a wacky murder mystery starring Issa Rae, who I just adore. She's from Insecure, and Kumail Nanjiani from Silicon Valley and The Big Sick. And they star in this movie as a couple on the brink of breaking up. And then they suddenly get involved in this bizarre murder mystery. So they're trying to solve the case and clear their names in the movie. At the same time, they're also trying to figure out how they and their relationship can survive the night, which might be the bigger challenge here. So this one looks like a lot of fun. Also on Netflix, if you missed this one on the big screen recently, you can now stream Adam Sandler's film Uncut Gems. A lot of buzz about this around Oscar season. A lot of people thought that Sandler was snubbed from the Oscars for his stellar performance in this film. He stars as a loudmouth jeweler in New York City's Diamond District, and his gambling addiction is destroying everything in his life, his professional and personal life, and he's always on the lookout for the next big score. So this movie has a lot of frenetic energy. It's New York City, it's the Diamond District, and we're going to follow him over the course of just a few days, kind of racing around the city out on Long Island as he tries to pull off another one of his con jobs. So this is really a must watch if you want to see Sandler doing some of his best work for sure, and give you a little feel of New York City, the buzz of New York City this weekend. And then turning to Amazon, season 2 of the series Homecoming. Did you watch this show, Homecoming? The podcast, everything?
I haven't watched Homecoming. I know I probably need to watch Homecoming.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is they're easy to watch because they're about 30 minutes, each episode. So this is now season 2. It's premiering this weekend, and it's based on the wildly popular podcast by Micah Bloomberg and Eli Horowitz. And this season, we're going to see Janelle Monáe in her first big TV role. So she's the star here. And it opens with her new character waking up on a fishing boat in the middle of a lake, not knowing what to do. She doesn't know how she got there, or even really who she is. So if you know Homecoming and how they do this, it begins with the end of the story, and then through each episode, it puts the pieces back together in reverse order. So the first season, which starred Julia Roberts, followed really closely to the text of the original podcast. But this season, we're going to get to see a world, beyond that story. So the world is just getting bigger. It's the same writers here for season 2, but some new faces. So along with Janelle Monáe, we have the always brilliant Chris Cooper and one of my favorites, Joan Cusack, who will also star in season 2 of Homecoming. And then shifting gears just a little bit as well on Amazon Prime, if you want to see the epic musical story of Elton John, and if you missed this one on the big screen this Oscar season, you can now watch this one at home. The film follows Elton John in his breakthrough years. So we're going through the 1970s, and his transformation from this shy piano prodigy to one of the most iconic figures in pop history. One of the things that's great about a film like this is you can enjoy a lot of his classic songs, see how they were written, and you can enjoy that they're all featured in the film. And there's also an original song here in Rocket Man called "I'm Gonna Love Me Again," which took home the Oscar in that category for best song this year. So a lot of variety, great variety, some escapes.
Yeah, that's definitely some big variety. I will say, Homecoming, I'm definitely going to be watching. I love something like that, and like Rocket Man, highly produced, and one of those ones that I need to see. And then I know there's also some other things that are out there if you want maybe less produced, something along the lines of some reality television. I know there's some more series that are coming out with that too.
Yeah, and this is a creative way to get more content. I will say that. So if you're not looking for an escape. Who are bored with your own life in quarantine. I think we're all getting a little bored with ourselves, hanging out with ourselves. Well, you can now watch other people's lives at home. This is a new Lifetime series called Once Upon a Quarantine, and it follows 4 real-life couples and their families living in self-isolation. And in the meantime, so this is all what's happening, with all of us right now. And all of these couples are facing big life milestones. You see pregnancies, separation, and so they're going through a lot in this time, and I think we could all relate to this here. And then there's another show, Regular Heroes. This is on Amazon Prime. It's a new docu-series, so a little bit different because this follows the impact that everyday people are having on the response to COVID-19. So these are just everyday heroes. Alicia Keys hosts one of the episodes, and Amazon Prime will release a new episode of this every Friday through June 26th. This one I highly recommend. It's inspirational. I got a sneak peek at a couple of the episodes, and it's really inspirational. And I think especially during times like these, it's good to be reminded how many good people are out there doing good things. So I highly recommend this. Again, that's called Regular Heroes, and it's a new docu-series on Amazon Prime. Every Friday night there'll be a new story.
I've actually seen part of that one, and yeah, I agree. Alicia Keys is, of course, wonderful, but it's a great series. So yeah, definitely recommend that. And talking about that, they're filming in quarantine. What about any production news as far as where things are going with everything else?
Yeah, this is a little bit of exciting, hopeful news. So mega producer Tyler Perry. I mean, I feel like Tyler Perry has more hours in his day than most people. He gets so much done, which I admire about him. Well, he just announced that he will start production on his 2 BET shows. That's Sistas and The Oval. They're going to start production this July. So his plan is he's going to fly the actors and his crew on his fleet of private jets to his 330-acre Atlanta studio grounds. So the cast and crew are all going to live, contained on the grounds, and the production teams are going to be tested regularly for the virus, throughout production. So Tyler Perry is known for a lot of things, but one of the things he is known for is his production efficiency, really. He normally shoots about 2 episodes of a show every week, which already is pretty impressive. But he says this summer, he and his team are going to work to make this production schedule even more efficient. So I think that's really hopeful news. It's getting people back to work. It's getting us some more great content out there. And maybe this will just kind of start the ball rolling, and we'll see how he does with this, getting a plan together.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to fly Digital Trends Live out there on his private jet, I would be okay with that if that's something, that we discussed. We'd have to see about it. But going from
Obviously. We have to cover that.
going from that, right. Going from that for this weekend in particular, you mentioned, it's Memorial Day weekend that's coming up. What are you going to be watching?
Well, I picked 4 war-themed films in honor of our military for this weekend. I personally am a fan of war films and learning more about what our service members go through at any given time. So here are my 4, a variety for you. So first up, I highly recommend They Shall Not Grow Old. This is Peter Jackson's epic World War I documentary. It's colorized footage. So we're seeing the footage of these World War I soldiers. Just watching this gives me chills, I have to say. The colorized footage, we're seeing this for the first time. He poured over hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage from the British War Museum and audio files. That's on Hulu and Amazon for World War I. Number 2, for World War II, Michael Bay's Midway. This is about the battle that turned the tide of that war. You can watch this on the biggest screen possible in your house, I recommend. There's some sweeping landscape shots and great acting in this. And we also showcase this on Real News. So again, that's the film Midway about World War II. That's available on Amazon. Third on the list, The Deer Hunter. This stars Robert De Niro, a younger Robert De Niro, and Christopher Walken. I don't know if I need to say much more there, but these are friends whose lives are forever changed from their service in the Vietnam War. And also to note, this always comes up on lists of, best films in history, and it won the Best Picture at the 1979 Oscars. So again, that's The Deer Hunter, and you can check that out on Amazon Prime. And finally, the film Megan Levy. It's a more recent film. This is based on a true life story of a Marine deployed in Iraq and her bond with a life-saving military combat dog. I just love this movie. It is heartwarming. This one is good for the whole family. It's a beautiful film, and it's, like I said, based on a true story, so that's always interesting. And you can stream Megan Levy on Hulu.
Okay, that's good to know that it's good for the whole family, because I was going to say, I love war movies, but if there's a dog involved and something's going to happen to that dog, then I get a little bit nervous about watching it. Terrible person, but
dogs. Yeah, not to spoil it. The dog's okay. Good movie.
Okay, awesome. I'll be watching that. Well, Aaron, thank you as always. Really, really appreciate it. Real News right there. You can go back and watch the other episodes too. Plenty of stuff to watch, even though there's so much production that's been delayed. And Aaron Keeney, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right, Real News right here on Digital Trends Live. Always keeping you up to date. We've got more coming up. We've got Ken Young from Flipboard for Tech Briefs, recapping some of the biggest stories in tech this week. That's coming up next. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us wherever you are. Hit that subscribe button. And I know it's normally on Fridays. We're going a day early, but it is now time for Tech Briefs, where I am joined by Ken Young, technology editor of Flipboard, to recap some of the big stories in tech. And there has already been a lot to talk about. And let's go ahead and do this right now. So we're going to go ahead and bring Ken on. And I was going to say that with Microsoft Build coming up. It's flawless. All right, Ken, thank you for joining us. Let's talk about what is going on in the world of technology. So we do have coming up with this, just taking a look back here at the week, we've got Microsoft Build, which was the first convention to actually happen, the first big one to happen post start of the pandemic. And so obviously all online. Microsoft's going to have their events online through, I believe, part of 2021. But this could be the template going forward for a lot of different events. And they did have some big announcements that happened. But how did you feel about how they pulled off the event in general?
So I watched a good chunk of day one. So this is a 2-day affair, unlike previous years where when you were in person, it was like 3 days. So this time it was 48 hours. And it wasn't a really structured type of affair, meaning that it wasn't like held between 9 to 5. This was basically a continuous type of thing in terms of sessions, and you could watch it anytime at your leisure on demand. So I actually really enjoyed from the get-go Satya Nadella's keynote, the Imagine Cup announcement. Their developer keynote was kind of surreal to me in a way, because when they were going through the demos, it was almost like you were part of their Microsoft Teams type of experience where they're having that collaboration, and it's almost like they're preparing to make that announcement, and then it ends, and you're like, wait, is the actual keynote happening, or did I see something that happened behind the scenes? It was really it was entertaining, and I enjoyed that format pretty much, and I think it had a different feeling, a better feeling than when you would typically watch a live stream of a show, of a conference in action with speakers and people are in front of a live audience. Whether or not what companies go for, that'll I think we'll see what happens after we figure out what happens with COVID-19. But let's look at the numbers here. According to Microsoft, they say that more than 100,000 people registered for Build this year, for Microsoft Build this year. And when you put that into perspective, last year 6,000 people actually showed up, right? So
Wow.
That's a big leap forward. And there's that 100,000 is like, at the bare minimum. There could be more that have watched this. There are other developers. There could be Microsoft employees that could be factored into this. So this is a pretty good win for Microsoft. And yeah, they made a lot of announcements. This is definitely more developer focused than previous years. Of course, as we look at the past few years, past few weeks, there's been a lot of Microsoft announcements. They've gotten their consumer products out of the way. We talked, Microsoft Surface, Microsoft earphones and earbuds and everything like that, which you've talked about on Digital Trends Live. And also the GitHub had a bunch of announcements as well in the previous weeks. Yeah. And so this time, this is talking about look, this is about building a platform within Microsoft. There was no mention of Cortana. There was no mention in terms of Windows 10X or their foldable devices. This is all about how do you streamline building Windows devices? How do you make how do you build things that are going to make the workplace more collaborative with Microsoft Teams, and with this new they're expanding their fluid framework into Office 365, which is going to make documents and productivity more collaborative. And of course, with HoloLens, I mean, that's the kind of they announced that their second generation last year. That's going to be made more available now in more stores and more countries, which is good. And it's going to have 5G support as well. So this is phenomenal. And I think the big thing, one of the big things, is this a $1 billion investment that they're making to OpenAI to really create general artificial intelligence. You look at with Cortana, with Google Assistant and Siri and everybody and Alexa, these are like small little tools within like this product. It's a product line within these companies. With Microsoft, it seems like they're kind of just really trying to really develop the foundation of artificial intelligence and kind of really make it
right.
I don't know. It's like it's this holistic thing as opposed to just one-off type of product.
And that's one of those things. Like when you think about it, investing $1 billion into that. I mean, that's huge. Like that's getting them at the forefront of what's going on. And they said that it could be. And that's one of the statistics that I was pretty impressed with was that this could be one of the top 5 fastest supercomputers in the world. So that's huge in its own right of just where this is gonna, where this could go, and them being at the forefront of that. So overall, yeah, I think this convention was honestly pretty cool how they pulled it off, and it'll be interesting to see how some of these other ones get pulled off going forward because you have more on the way. Going from there, let's talk about something else. It was the 11th anniversary this week of Minecraft. Minecraft still getting popular. Some pretty incredible numbers they posted up. 200 million copies sold, 126 million current users of Minecraft, and it's still growing. I think that's one of the biggest things. So it is, it's amazing. It's the most popular game of all time with 200 million copies that have been sold of this thing. And I think with any kind of game like this, to be at 11 years where they do have updates, they do have changes, and there's a big update that's coming up here. I believe next week there's an update that's coming to it, but people still love it. I mean, it's the same basic principle for all of these. And, let me ask you, Ken, have you played Minecraft?
No, I haven't. But it's what you mentioned. Like this is the most popular, like one of the top popular games of all time. It kind of reminds me like, is this almost like for 11 years? This is kind of really stuck in terms of popularity. Is this almost like the SimCity of our generation? I mean, SimCity kind of came out every year with a new iteration, new edition. But obviously now with everything in the cloud and this MMORPG type of thing, you get these with Minecraft. This is really kept its I don't know it's maintained its popularity, its cultural hit, even after getting acquired by Microsoft for 2.5 billion 6 years ago. So it's been kudos to Microsoft for keeping this going, and this, as we talked about in previous weeks. Yeah. We've talked about games that are and platforms that have kind of really won or have been very helpful in terms of this pandemic. We talked about Fortnite in terms of the concerts and the musics and the gaming and the socialization. Obviously, Animal Crossing with the gaming, and now with Minecraft with the gaming. But as you mentioned, with the education as well. So it's not just let me go build this world, but this is let me build this world and learn as along the way. And they're making it easier for not only the kids and the gamers to learn, but also to help the teachers get through to their students so that they're not like suffering because they're at home, and they're making it easier for parents to kind of manage this situation that everyone's been involuntarily thrown into. So this is kudos to Minecraft for doing this. Again, we'll see what happens with this next edition, and will this how long will Minecraft's reign last? And will it go for another 11 years? But I mean, let's think about it this way: 200 million copies sold. Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold what is it, like 120
I think
million
it's 120
copies?
I'll have to double check. About 120 million, I believe, is what
Right.
Grand Theft Auto is.
So there's a big
GTA
difference.
5.
But then again, like, what are you learning from GTA 5?
Yeah, I was going to say, the education side of things is a little bit different between the two of those games. But
I mean, you
definitely
get
interesting.
street rules, and then you get book rules. So, I mean,
There it is. Ken learns from the street. I mean, we know that because I know you play GTA 5. We talked about this. So we got the Minecraft Education Edition, also 50 million downloads. So that's pretty incredible. But yeah, Minecraft right there. And then finally, I know we're running out of time, but one other thing too, just this week, Spotify, which has been making a lot of moves to try to solidify themselves as a go-to source for podcasts, made their biggest move, giving Joe Rogan $100 million to be exclusively on Spotify. That includes the video side of things too. I mean, that is a big bet. Certainly Joe Rogan, one of the most popular podcasts of all time, has hundreds of millions of downloads per month. I think it's 190 million per month, at least according to him. So big. That's certainly a big move. But $100 million to have the exclusive rights to it. I'm wondering if that's going to pay off in subscriptions or how that's going to work out for them. How do you feel?
So this is further proof that Spotify's podcasting game is coming to fruition. We know that they said that they're going to spend up to $500 million in terms of on the podcast industry, and I think this is well over that amount. When you look at how much they spent on Anchor and Gimlet earlier, I believe in 2019, they also bought Bill Simmons' podcast as well. So that was supported for about like 160 million, I believe, give or take 190, I think. And so this is, this adds on. And when you look at it, sure, they get this real captive audience, but in whether that converts into subscriptions, into those that are paying for their $9.99, Spotify's $9.99 plan, or it helps to raise ad revenue for Spotify. I mean, they have a real captive audience right now. And this is going to be an exclusive. So even the past archive stuff from Joe Rogan's podcast will now be on Spotify. The Joe Rogan Experience podcast will no longer be broadcast on YouTube. Everything's going to be exclusive on Spotify, and that's going to happen by the end of this year. So this is no joke that Spotify really wants to take on Apple Podcasts and also Google Play as well. Google Plays Google's version of their podcast stream as well. So. And this reminds me similar of like the content wars when you have with streaming services that we've talked about repetitively on this show. With Apple spending a boatload of money on original content, Netflix, Amazon, Disney, NBC. I don't know how many. Enter company and the plus sign. That's basically it. So we'll probably start to see that as well. And who knows what big names are going to be snatched up next by Spotify or Apple in terms of this exclusives. And I mean, who could it be?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things too. Is does this start an arms race when it comes to that for other platforms if they start trying to do exclusive things and subscription services? Because I mean, Apple Podcasts, you don't pay to get a podcast off of Apple's platform, but maybe they have something that goes into a premium service too. Who knows? It's definitely going to shake things up. I mean, it's either going to be a huge success for Spotify or they're going to owe, well, either way, they owe Joe Rogan $100 million. So it's a good day for Joe Rogan, that's for sure. But that's what we have for this week. And I want to say for podcasts also, you can listen to Tech Briefs on Spotify as well, because that is a podcast that goes up every single week to keep you up to date on what is going on in the world of technology. And Ken, as always, good to see you, my friend. I will talk to you next week.
Stay safe. See you later.
Yep, you too. All right, Ken Young right there from Flipboard. We love that partnership. He is the technology editor for Flipboard, so you can check out everything that he's got going too on their platform and on our platform, digitaltrends.com. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's been tuning in today. So, yes, it's Memorial Day weekend coming up, but we have some special things planned for you anyway. So we're going to be revisiting over the next couple of days some of our favorite interviews that have happened in quarantine. And let me just say, we've had some pretty big ones. We're going to be talking about Dennis Quaid, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. We've got Tom DeLonge from Blink-182, like all kinds of things that we're going to be airing. So you'll have something to watch every single morning. The way you watch that is right where you're at right now. So you want to click subscribe, and that way you get a notification, it pops up, and boom, you're right here joining the show with us. And thank you for joining the show with us. And I want to say something else coming up later today. We have the premiere of Open for Good. We talked to Chef Danny here earlier, so she's going to be cooking from her kitchen. You get to see actually her kitchen, how she cooks with that Ninja Foodie pressure cooker, and we're going to be able to see what she's coming up with. I don't know what it is. It's kind of a surprise for everybody, but it's going to be something that's accessible for all of us. We can all make the same thing, so that's what's really cool about that. That's coming up today, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Appreciate it greatly. I'm Greg Nibbler, and I'll see you actually right back here tomorrow with another edition of Digital Trends Live.